me just 1 second. I know all of you are on mute, but let me just, I'm going to share a few documents with you guys before we get started. This is where our team starts. So we paid this coaching company, Eisenhower Coaching, to kind of give us some checklists back in the day. And it's really proved instrumental and fundamentally critical for our business to kind of break it down into these different sections. So what you'll see is you'll see 4 different sections. You'll see a pre-listing checklist, a listing contract checklist, seller closing checklist, and then a buyer closing checklist. So really the first 3 go together, and then the buyer one is just kind of one of its own. And so what we're going to see here is this is where personally I start all of my work on trying to get my VA to be a transaction coordinator. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start by number 1. We're just going to start editing all of these to match what our own processes are. And so because we all have such different processes, you know, I say, for example, we have some people on here from California. Like I know we have Sarah here in California. Like in California, they have like 500 documents. I think, Donna, you probably know that too. Compared to other markets, you guys have 1 million documents, whereas in Texas, we have like 5 compared to other states. And so what we want to do is we want to really just study this and break down what goes into the pre-listing process, what goes into the listing process, and so on. So this is just meant to give you guys an idea. Now, what I like to do and what our best members do is they will add another section here and they will call it video training, or they might just call it Loom, right? Or instructions or things like that. So once you get in here, you can obviously add more columns. And what we like to do is we like to go through each step and go, I'm either going to shoot a video for this, or I'm going to show my VA how to do it, or I'm going to give them a resource on how to do it. Now, it seems painful at the beginning, but anything else, you spend the 10 minutes to do it now, whether it's this VA, a future VA, an in-person assistant, whatever it is in your business as you scale, this is going to be super helpful. And so we look through all these different things, and then I want to show you how we build Asana out to be able to handle the mass number of transactions. We think, in our opinion, that Asana can handle very easily about 10 transactions at a given time closing in a month. Once you hit about 120 transactions a year, we do think that Asana gets a little shaky, a little rocky, just based on the pure volume of number of deals you're doing. So do keep that in mind if you're watching this video. By no means am I telling people to switch over from SkySlope or all these different systems you may be using, but this is just a good way for a lot of people that are fundamentally starting to get into this to stay super organized. And so what we do when we go to Asana, and some of you guys have seen this before, is when we're inside of Asana, what we need to do is we need to build these templates into Asana. So usually what I'll do is I will split my screen like this, and then I am just going to start copying and pasting over all of this. Now, this obviously assumes that you've already fixed this to kind of match what you want it to be. And so what we're going to first do is we're going to basically create a new team. So you'll see I have a transaction coordination with a virtual assistant, and then we're going to create a new project. So again, I'm recording this. We are going to go a little fast, but feel free to pause and rewind the recording. What we're going to do is we're going to create a blank project, and we're going to call this the listing template. Okay. I try to make it very simplistic. I usually will put an emoji in here, and you guys will learn why I do this later. So we'll do something like listing template, and we'll just hit create. Okay. So you'll see right here, we have a listing template. I am then going to duplicate this, and I'm going to do a buyer template, okay? And so when I hit create new project, what you're gonna see here is we have a listing template and a buyer template. Now, what I like to do next is I like to separate the colors, so that way I know the difference between listings and buyers. So let's just say I made that my new color. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to add another project, and I am just going to put a whole bunch of dashes in here, and then I'm going to hit create project. What this does is it creates a separation line for us to keep things a little bit more organized. And so what you're going to see here is whenever I open up the listing template, literally all I'm going to do is copy and paste exactly what we've pre-made over here. So I'm going to add a section. because this goes in listing, and I'm just going to hit pre-listing checklist. Okay. And then as we go through this, we're just literally going to copy and paste. And then all we have to do for each section is go one step deeper. So what I would do is I would take this right here, create a new listing file with all forms and templates, and I would put it in here. And then I would do this all the way down. Now it used to be that you could just copy and paste all of these in there. Yep, just like that. You can copy them all in at once. So once you've done that, awesome, you have your pre-listing template. Then we're going to go over to listing contract checklist. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go straight to listing to contract checklist. So just to give you guys a brief, this is before you have the listing, and this is while the listing is on the market. So again, let's just say that this was your final version. We're going to go into here. We're going to add more tasks. Perfect. We're going to do the last section, which is the seller closing. So this is basically once the home goes under contract. So we're going to do seller contract to close. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste all of these in here. Same thing. And feel free, guys, if you guys have any questions about anything or any ahas, feel free to share them. Then what we're going to do is once we've done that, at the very top of the section, at the very top of the document, we're going to add a section called key contract dates and deadlines. Okay. Then what we're going to do is I like this to be at the top because it kind of just keeps everything at the forefront of the document. So it takes a minute to get to the very top. Just give it just a second. Now, I will also warn you guys, this is obviously very extensive, and what these people have set up is very thorough. And so some of you guys may not need nearly as much as some of these people have in terms of dates and tasks and different things like that. So just know that don't feel like you have to have all of these. So every state has different important days. So what we like to do is go in here and kind of mark these off. And then we also do, this isn't necessarily inspection. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But now you guys can see we have, if we were to fold this all up, we have all the different pieces of a transaction put in here. Now, this is just the template, okay? So what we want to do is we want to set ourselves up for future success. So what we want to start by doing is we want to choose who is going to do each task. Now, again, we're just preparing. Just because you do this now doesn't mean it's the way it's going to always be. So I'm going to go through this as if I was an agent that was just going to start giving some of my tasks to my virtual assistant for the very first time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to determine who is going to do which task. So create new listing file with all forms and templates. That is easily something Shireen can do for me. Schedule listing appointment and agent's calendar. You know, in the beginning, as I'm trying to fill out my VA, I'm probably still going to take care of that, right? Locate and save old MLS listings for subject property. Very easy, right? That's something I can teach on Loom. Hey, go and look at the old MLSs for this, download the PDF, and I want you to put it in the Google Drive folder, right? And so I can give that to Shireen. Obtain property profile, assessments and taxes, opening up tax records, something very easily you can teach a VA to go into tax records, download the PDF, put it in a file. Call title and request legal description indeed. Well, in Colorado, we don't really do that. We do that all after the fact. So I'm gonna just probably delete that in a full transparency. Obtain parcel map and survey info. Probably not something I've ever done before. So I'll cross, you guys should know, obviously, if that's gonna be a bridge you have to cross. Print agent's pre-listing presentation materials for consultation. My VAs know how to print things off of my computer in my office. So that way, when I come back to my office, everything is printed on my computer. So I can give that to Shireen. She can prepare net sheets for me. She can prepare this. So you guys can kind of see how we are starting to lay this out. Now, what we want to do, and the reason why over here on each of the different sections, we like to add a Loom section is because this is for me as the employer. I call this the I sleep easy at night, right? Whenever people are determining how productive their VAs are not, a lot of times people will come to me and go, Justin, my VA is not doing what they need to do. And I go, well, if I were to be a VA for you tomorrow and I were to start working for you, I want you to train me. And then they start saying, well, I can't train you because I've just taught it all to them and told them, and I didn't record anything. I didn't show them how to do any of it. And so even the best transaction coordinator, I could give you my rockstar coordinator, but she doesn't know how to do things the way that you do it. And so you're always still gonna need that training. So for me, I like to do this and I like to just go through this. Now, a lot of these Loom videos are only gonna be like 10 seconds, 1 minute long. Like creating a new listing file, that should only take like 3 minutes, right? Scheduling listing appointment in agent's calendar should only take like 2 minutes to do. So these Loom videos are really short. So it may seem like you're making 100 of them. You might be, but they might only be 2 or 3 or 4 minutes long. So that's kind of where we start there. So we're going to go down and let's just say that I determine that Shireen is going to do every single one of these for me in the future. Now, the benefit for a lot of you guys is you've always done all of your transaction coordination yourself anyways. And so like having, even if you have to step into some of these pieces later on in the first few transactions, because it's fair to assume that your VA won't know it all based on your market, is that you're not going backwards, right? You're still moving forward by getting all of this set up. So let's say we went through all of this, we did that, and let's say that I had my training videos already done. So I would click on details, and then I would go in here and I would drop the video training link in here for exactly how to do this task. And I can't stress it enough. This is what we call building a foundation. You could have the best VA we've ever given you, and 2 years from now, they decide that they want a kid, they get pregnant, and they quit work to stay at home with the kids. That's nothing you did wrong, it's nothing we did wrong. But if you don't build the foundation with the videos and the training, you're gonna be at square one again, and you're gonna be double stressed because your business has probably grown. And so building this allows us to easily, let's say that Shireen quit on me and I not for any bad reason, I could go in here and go, awesome, I need to start teaching Paige how to do this, right? And nothing changes. And it's a really easy way to bulletproof our business. So that's kind of how we start to set it up. So you guys will see that's under the listing buyer template. We do the same thing in the buyer closing section. So I'm gonna, on my right side here, I'm gonna open up the buyer closing checklist, because again, you don't really start working with your VA with buyers until it's actually usually under contract, right? Maybe there's some tasks that they do prior to under contract, but those are more like one time, hey, can you schedule showings for me? Or can you set up a search engine? There really isn't like any, regulated time period on that. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll build that out, do the exact same thing. So let's just say we're going to assign this to Shireen and so on. And we did that the entire way down. Now, these are just the templates, okay? So we're not ever going to have the VAs working inside of these. We do not want the VAs to touch the templates unless we're in the beginning, unless we give them permission to. What will happen is once you have this all pretty, you have each section kind of with their own Loom video, what you're going to do is, let's say that today you just got a buyer under contract and you have everything working really well. What you're going to do is you're going to go into the buyer template. You're going to duplicate the project. You're going to then exit this out and you're going to put the address. So 123 Main Street, Nashville, Tennessee, buyer. And I'm going to go to assignee and I'm going to hit create new project. Now, what you're going to see down here is if you give it about 30 seconds, it's going to load and it's going to duplicate that template. And you'll see it here, it's still being duplicated. The bigger your template is, the longer that it takes. So you'll see down here, awesome, it did it in red. Now let's say you got another contract under contract. Same thing, duplicate project, take this out. We're gonna go 6454 Watson Street, buyer. Make sure this is all clicked. Create new project. And now what you guys are going to see is we have a dashboard of just the buyer contract to close for each and every property. And so you can see now where we stand in the process for each and every transaction, because each one has been assigned their own piece of the pie. And so as we go through this, what you're going to see is now, let's say that you get a listing or you got a listing lead, someone calls you and you're like, awesome, I'm ready to go, ready to rock and roll. What you can then do is you'll just copy the listing template, again, duplicate the project, and we're going to go 897 Main Street, right? Nashville, Tennessee listing. And then as we create that new project, you're going to see down here that as an owner, I can now differentiate which ones are buyers, which ones are sellers. And it allows my VA to be able to see what tasks do they have coming up. Now, the only drawback, in my opinion, at this point to Asana is the ability to do what we call plus or minus dates. So that's the ability for me to go in here and have all of these dates auto fill in. In the beginning, I like to have the VAs learn what these look like. So if I were to split my screen again, what I'm going to see here, and again, this can be kind of cumbersome in the beginning, but your VA will get the hold of it. Buyer contract closing. These two happen on day 0. So let's put the due date for today, right? All right. These all happen from email to friend. Those all happen day 1. So this is going to go here, and then we can go over here and see here's the friend request. All right. So that's going to happen tomorrow. And now I can choose all of those. Now that's a little cumbersome, but remember, you have a VA working 40 hours a week for you, so it only takes them a few minutes to get this right. And so there's some other ways that we can teach you guys in the future to make this faster. It does require upgrading Asana, but for many of you guys, it will literally take your VA like 10 minutes to do this. And I kind of like it from the standpoint of the VAs looking and kind of visualizing what is going to be coming up on their checklist. And if they have any problems with it, they can get ahead of schedule and make sure that they're knocking everything off. Now, what happens here is as you build this and you have 2 different buyer transactions going on with different due dates. So this buyer transaction, you got 2 under today. These 2 are both due today. This is due tomorrow. What you're going to see is when your VA logs in tomorrow, they're going to see all of these transactions, and they're all going to have different to-do tasks. So when they log in and they go and look at their tasks, it's going to say, hey, you have all of these tasks, and it's going to reference which property that task needs to be done by. So whenever Shireen logs in to her My Task tomorrow, it's going to show her all of these for 654 Watson, and it's going to show her all of these for 123 Main Street. So realistically, she should have like 20 tasks on her plate that automatically fed into the transaction. Now, obviously, this is where you guys have to fill out your flow. You got to fill out your style, right? There's some things that are very important in a transaction that might move. Dates might move, different things like that. What we're looking for on these is we're really looking for big pieces of the puzzle, the things that you never want to get dropped, right? Different things like that. Again, I think that some of these lists are a bit over the top. Like a lot of you guys don't need to do sale mending flyers. A lot of you don't need to do start agent circle prospecting, right? There's some of these sections that you could delete and make this much more compact and still get more than you're doing now. Like I think a great thing to keep is sale pending Facebook and social media posts. So some of you guys are like, wait, how do I tell my VA when I have a contract? Well, if they're doing your transaction coordination work, it's just a part of their flow to mark that piece off in the puzzle. Some of you guys don't want your VAs talking to lenders and people and things like that. So that's obviously where you guys can customize this to kind of be your own. So over here on the left, you'll obviously see how this can go pretty crazily to 5, 6, 7, 10 transactions. The other thing that you can do is when you're in each transaction, you can click on calendar and it will actually show you a calendar for that specific transaction. And so now what you can do is when you're doing what we call daily huddles, I love these. Like you guys should be meeting with your team each and every day for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Like even when I was running the team with my dad out of Denver and I was the team lead of 15 to 20 agents, we, even with a rock star TC that knew everything inside and out, we still had to have a daily meeting once we started to get more and more transactions, because there was just pieces of the puzzle that you keep in your head that someone called and told you, didn't tell the VA, tell your transaction coordination. And so what I like to do is what we kind of call a deal by deal summary, is when in the morning when I meet my team, I go, awesome. And this can be really fast. It doesn't need to be long. We go, awesome. Let's take a look at the calendar for this transaction. Have any problems? Do you see anything that you need help with? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, all good. Okay, we're going through this transaction. Let's go to the calendar. Oh yeah, I don't know how to do listing agent congratulations on this one, right? What do I do? And you can help them with that. Same thing. And even if you have 5 to 10 transactions going on at a time, which would be a lot for a solo agent, very doable, but a lot, even if you have that, the meeting should only be 15 to 20 minutes long. And if even at that, you at least have a heads up that by the end of the day, what you may need to step in and help or not help with based on that quick meeting. So with that being said, that in a nutshell is how we recommend people to do transaction coordination in this sense. Now, if you want to do it in a different platform, I think it's great. I think the fundamentals still stay the same. Is being able to use a checklist like this and actually determine what you actually need and what you don't need. A lot of people will leave in steps that they think looks cool because the checklist here said it, but they actually don't need it. Like a lot of solo agents, you don't use team scoreboards. You don't need to go make a team scoreboard. Let's just delete it out and simplify things as simple as possible to start, and then we can start to add. Obviously, there's some things that your VA can or can't do based on being licensed or unlicensed. So there's obviously other things as well that you'll want to delete out of here, depending on your state, your rules, and what you do or don't want people to do. So with that being said, it's about 30 minutes in. I want to kind of turn it over for questions, best practices, and kind of talk a little bit on that side of things. Anybody got any questions, thoughts, opinions on the way we kind of have this set up?
Justin, this is Donna. After they close, is there a way to archive it, or do you just, what do you do with that, the information?
Yep. So usually what we do is we'll just create another section down here, and we'll just create a project called Closed Transactions. And we'll create that project. We'll usually do like another dotted line. So what we'll do is we'll kind of keep it separated here. The reason why I like to do that is I like to keep track of just kind of keep everything a little bit separate. And so I'll just go down here, close transactions. And then if this transaction closes, I'll just go and drop it down below there. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Kind of reorganize it a bit. Yep. Great question. So there's definitely a lot of things that you guys can do within here to really streamline the process. The other thing that I tell a lot of you that don't maybe need the VA to be a full transaction coordinator is something we call partial transaction coordination, right? A lot of us don't need full transaction coordination, and partial coordination may be this, right? It may be taking out a lot of these things and taking it down to, I don't want my VA to handle that. I don't want my VA to handle that, but I do want my VA to do this, right? And so we find a lot of people, they might need more help on making sure that, you know, weekly seller updates go out, or, you know, maybe you already have a flow that you don't want to interrupt. And I think that's totally okay. You know, Dan Jerseth out of Wisconsin is a really good example of this. He started off by giving his VAs 20% of a transaction, 50%, then 100%. And you realize in the beginning, he didn't start by giving the VA everything. He gave them the most important things, because for a lot of us, just doing small things like claiming listings on Zillow, you know, just coordinating property pickup, making sure it turns off the MLS. A lot of those types of things are enough to help us get an extra 5 to 10 to 15 deals a year and take a lot of stress off our plate, just because we're not having to remember all the little things. And you can do that without having your VA do full transaction coordination. Some of you guys are also using per file companies, which I think are great. For a lot of people, I wouldn't even suggest going away from those. I would have the VA do what we kind of call plug the holes, which is obviously a coordination company is going to do a standardized way of doing things. Like they may not do your pre-listings or your flyers or your social media marketing or coordinating pickup of the lockbox and sign. And, you know, they're purely just doing paperwork. And a lot of times for a lot of people, for compliance and liability and things like that, that's a great way to do it, right? Even if you're still spending $300 a file and you're doing 4 files a month and you have a VA at 5, 6, 7, 800 a month, 900 a month, what you're going to find is you're still way under an average salary of a full-time assistant, and you're kind of getting the best of all worlds. So I think that's the other thing, is not to pressure yourself into thinking that your VA needs to do absolutely everything. Great question. We got a few more questions in the chat box here. To be honest with you, Jihan, one of the Revolve, so she asked about Revolve. If you guys have never heard of Revolve before, Revolve for me, I hate to say this, I probably spent close to 500 to 750 hours building Revolve out for my team back in the day. I personally would never have a virtual assistant work in Revolve if I was the one setting up the organization, just because Revolve is so complicated that I think that it could hurt. However, with that being said, with the right amount of dedication and effort and time, Revolve can also allow you to scale to an unlimited number of transactions, and the automation in that system is absolutely out of this world, unmatched. And so as far as marrying this up in Revolve, I mean, it would purely just be taking this checklist and turning it all into flows within Revolve. But as you all know, setting the automation and the timing and the things like that for just one task could take 10 to 20 to 30 minutes to make sure that all the automations fire off on time. So yeah, so also, do you set up your workflows with this level of detail, number of steps as it has in the checklist? Yeah, I mean, the more detailed, the better, right? A lot of times agents will just put on there and document to social media marketing, right? And I really like on here how it talks about the different steps, right? Sale pending social media posts. So like what I would do in that case is you probably don't even need like a video. In this, I would put a template, right? What is a template that you want to use for all of your sale pendings to get that consistency piece of it going? So yeah, definitely would make these as in depth as possible. So great question. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But I'll tell you, Revolve's deadly. I love the system. I actually created one of their most watched videos ever explaining our system on YouTube. So you guys might find that in the archives if you're looking on Revolve systems. But so if you guys are a big team, if anybody's watching that's really wants just a badass, for lack of better terms, CRM, even better than anything I've ever seen, Revolve is definitely it. But you better have someone that loves to build automation. And, I mean, Revolve's as good as whenever you get a transaction, you can click a button and it will start automating everything. By me just putting in a few words, it would text my lender, it would call my lender, it would email the home inspector, and it would do everything with just a click of a single button. However, it takes a lot of time to set up. So the pros and cons. Awesome. What other questions do you guys have about this? So a few things here that I'm going to give you guys also, so you guys can kind of comb through this. Let me go and find you guys. Let me find you guys something else that I'll share with you that you guys can kind of use throughout this process as well. Let me find the document for this so you guys can kind of see some of the other things that I'll share with you as well. We have a whole bunch of other documents that some people use when it comes to transaction coordination. So we have this spreadsheet here, which is kind of like keeping track of all the active listings, keeping track of all the buyer inventory, buyer agreement signed, active buyer leads, pending contracts, right? So we can keep track of all of this. So a lot of this can all be done in spreadsheets, but I just kind of like for my VA to be in charge of managing what's the source, what's the address, right? All things that a lot of times we let slip through the cracks. So I'll share that document with you. This is what we call an active pending inventory list. We have a few other ones in here that I will share with you as well. Let me find a few of the other ones. We have a team scoreboard that we can share with you guys. This is basically, if you have teams and you're trying to grow, this is a great way to measure what they're doing, their pending volume. Again, another great way for the VA to keep track of a lot of this for you. So that way you kind of always have a kind of a pulse on your business. And then that's really it for the most part. There's some more complicated ones, but for the most part, that's kind of the simplistic way that we use that. So I will turn it over to you guys now. That's really all I have for today. I would say from people that have used this system in the past, most of them tell me it's about, in their opinion, about 10 hours of work to build this out to their satisfaction when it comes to creating each video, writing out how to do it, because they're really focusing on these two templates. 10 hours sounds like a lot with as busy as many of us are, but it's going to save you thousands of hours. So it's kind of one of those short-term sacrifices, right? Whether it's having to get up early, whether it's having to work late. I always kind of told my friends and people back in the day, whenever I was building out our Revolve system, much like this, I said, hey, things are going to be a little bit different for the next 2 weeks because I want to be present with you in 2 weeks from now, right? I want to be there for Thanksgiving. I want to be there for Christmas. I want to be there all of next year. And so I'm going to work a few extra hours. Just wanted to let you know it's not a permanent thing. However, I really need to put my nose to the grindstone to get this done because that's the only way I'm ever going to get out of the stressful wheel of real estate, as I call it. So just wanted to share that with you guys. With that being said, I am going to shut up and let you guys fire away any questions when it comes to this section.
Hey, Justin, it's Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, how's it going? So love this. Awesome. Love the checklist. I'm wondering if you have a template on documents for a transaction, because obviously a lot of this is doing different things, but what about like making sure you have all the documents saved at the end?
Yeah, great question. So what we find is most of the time that here's kind of the best way to do it is when you actually look through these checklists, most of these documents or most of the checklist are recording documents that are going to be needed at the end. One of the ways, especially in California with you guys' estate and as many of the things as you guys have, one of the things that I would do is I would create something that we call a compliance section. And so for here, let's just say we call this a compliance section. So Sarah, is it fair to say that like most transactions, like I think you guys, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, you guys have like a COVID-19 waiver type document or something new now? Like
yes,
if
the
that
PED.
Yeah, so let's say that had to be turned in for every transaction. What I would do is I would basically create two things. You could do it this way where you just knock like, lead-based paint disclosure, if it's a certain thing, and this disclosure and that disclosure and whatever it may be. What I would do is I wouldn't assign a date to this. I would assign a person to it. And then every time we've completed that document, you can actually go in here and you can add the details and you can actually add that file directly from your computer or wherever it's at, and you can attach it in here. And then what happens is at the end of your transaction, you can actually open up the files section, and this will have all of the files for the entire transaction all located within here. Now, a lot of us are already using DocuSign and Dotloop and all these different platforms. So I don't necessarily want to duplicate too many things, right? But so you can either decide, I just need my VA to kind of let me know. So like if I was keeping everything in Dotloop or DocuSign and I just wanted them to check in here, one thing that you could do is you could go in here and you could just do this and you could say completed, right? And so now we're kind of looking at what has been completed, and we could go in here and we could say missing, right? And so now we can take a quick look when we're doing those daily meetings on, hey, I'm about to submit this for compliance. Obviously, Sarah, yours probably a little bit different. You kind of are your compliance of your own company. But for some people, when they're having to submit it to the upper chain, this is something that we could start off by putting these all as missing. And then what happens is as it becomes completed, this is why I really like to use emojis inside the system. Again, it sounds silly, but I like to just do a visual representation of, hey, we have the COVID-19 waiver, right? It's here, the check mark. Hey, we're missing this one, right? So we're going to put, a little X here. And this is just something that I like to use with the VAs because it's very visually pleasing and we can see that we're missing it. Or, hey, I have a question here. And so then once we get towards the end of the transaction and they're going through all of this, we should have a pretty good idea of what needs to be submitted to compliance and what's missing or not missing. And when we do those daily meetings, it's going to be really easy for you to spot, okay, let's get this, let's get that, let's knock it out real fast. And you can send your VA out to go and do those tasks and say, hey, can you go grab this from DocuSign or Dotloop or vice versa? So I would say as far as that, that's how I would set it up. Do I have a list of the documents specific to California? I don't, but I think it would take you just a matter of 15, 20 minutes to go in here and list out any of the documents that would be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I originally was going to do it in Google Docs and have like a separate Google Docs checklist.
So that's not a bad idea. So what you can do with this is watch this. So let's say that you decided to do something differently and you wanted to do a compliance section and you wanted to say all required documents. One thing that you can do, and this is not a bad idea, is let's just take these out real fast. Let's just put this compliance section at the top, right? Let's go put it up here with everything else that's super important. This takes a minute. But what we can do because of the way Asana, just the way Asana works, is let's just say you did this and you had a Google document that you already thought was really good. You can go over here and you can create and attach a file, or you can attach a file from your Google Drive. And then you can sign in here. And then once you sign in here and you choose which document you want it to be. So let's just go into here, right? You can put that in here. And what it will do now is whenever you want to check the status of those, you just click on this and then that document will always be there for you to go and check and see. So a lot of people may like create over here on the right side, they may create a compliance doc and have a list for each transaction. And then they just have a piece in here that links to the Google Drive. So that's another way that you can do it as well. That would be super easy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think with, my 500-page transactions, that would be a little bit easier than putting them all in Asana.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you already had some of that pre-broken out, very easy for you to go from this page over to the buyer, closer, seller checklist, and just kind of link it that way. And that kind of goes with anything. There's so many different things that you can go in here, like prepare the listing packet, right? Like if I already have the listing packet template made inside of my Google Drive, I would just go over here, open up my computer. And so, oh, hey, this is the packet that we use, right? And you can put it in here now forever and ever. Every time that since this is done inside of the template, every time I duplicate this template, that guide that they need to edit is already going to be in here, and it takes away any ability or need to think, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely.
So it's cumbersome on the front end, but I always tell people anything worth having is not easy, right? Or else everybody would be doing it. So great question. Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Cody, your question as far as the templates, man. Yeah. So if you check out the chat room, we gave you access to this right here. So I could give you access to my Asana, but it's not going to do you any good because it's not going to be very customized. So what I recommend is just taking these, and then I know you also jumped in like 10 minutes late. Just go back to the first 10 minutes and I showed people how to copy and paste these in there. So if you just go and edit this out, and do a copy and paste, you can paste it all in here in like 10 seconds. So I would definitely recommend that. So perfect. Awesome. What other questions do you guys have about this subject?
Justin, real quick, since I came in late, do I need that link to be shared again?
No, you're good, man. So if you go to the Facebook Inner Circle group, it's actually the one that's being streamed live right now. I put the link right there for you. And then once we end the Zoom call, the recording will have the first 10 minutes on there as well.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Cool. All right, guys. What else on the subject of transaction coordination can I help you with? It was definitely one of the trickier subjects. Awesome.
My challenge is always asking for a review.
Say that again.
My challenge is always asking for a review. I would love to have my VA be the one asking instead of me not asking.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you guys the key to reviews is, and many of you guys know this. I'll kind of give you an example of how we, and this example is going to be very, this will be fresh for a lot of you guys because you'll understand why we did what we did. Is if you guys go onto like my YouTube channel and you look at our reviews, which some of you guys are in here, like Renee, you're right here. We asked you for a review before the VA actually onboarded onto your team. The reason why we did that is because once the VA is on your team, guess what? You become extremely busy, right? As soon as your buyers or sellers close, good luck, right? Even my best friend that buys and closes on a home that I know will give me a review, we lose track. There is no way that I'm going to ever get a review for them, or at least, you know, some people will, but there's no way that I'm going to have consistency of getting reviews. And if you're doing, let's say, 1 transaction a month, 2 transactions a month, and you always ask for them after the fact, it's almost impossible, just because they're busy, they're moving, they're getting into the swing of things. Like, I know when I move, it makes me feel like it takes 3 months to even move into a place. Life's just busy, money may be tight because I just spent a lot of money on a home. And so with that being said, it's not really the ideal environment. And so to absolutely, what I would recommend is using the script that we have in the top 50 VA guide for asking for reviews, which I can post in the group as well. And do it usually about 7 days prior to closing, right? That's the best way to do it. And then if you guys are in a state that has like a closing where you actually go and attend a closing, that's another really good way to get the question answered. Is if at the table right before, like, you get there early, if you can get it done there, it's going to be 100 times better than asking for it after the transaction. So either at closing or having your VA do it like 7 to 10 days prior. Like, yes, maybe before even appraisal's done, maybe before any of that. Just like I asked for you guys. No one ever tells us no when we ask for a review, even though the VA is not on your staff right now, right? Because we know once they go on your staff, it's hard to find you and get back a hold of you, even if you're loving everything that we're providing. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I would definitely put it out about 7 to 10 days prior to the transaction ending.
Okay. I just wanted it to be part of my transaction
What's that?
process.
Say that again.
I just wanted it to be part of my transaction process. I didn't know if you had a step. I'm driving, so I haven't been able to watch. I've just been listening. I didn't know if it was part of your transaction step.
It is. So usually what we would do is you guys will actually probably see it. If I open the buyer template, you'll actually probably see, send buyer congratulations email with online request links. So literally what I would do is I would go in here and I would just write out an email template. Don't overthink it. Just literally make it sound like you, because it could be coming from you. And remember, guys, not everything has to come from your VA. So like, you could make them log into your email and send this, hey, first name. Again, this sucks that I have to spend 30 minutes doing this, or 10 minutes, but so great that I never have to think about it again. Blah, 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 blah. You know, review link for my Google business page. Hey guys, if a VA cannot copy and paste a template like this and get it done every single time you have the wrong VA, give me a call, right? But if you tell me my VA sucks at gathering reviews, and I ask, well, did you have it written out? And you go, no, then I'll go, awesome. Then I don't think the VA is the one that might suck. So just full blunt honesty. But that's the way I would do it. Put the links in here, and then, yeah, it is a part of the process. You guys will see that they even went as far as adopting the sellers. We call that orphaning. So once the transaction's done, you have no fiduciary duty to respect the boundaries of other agents, because 99% of agents will never talk to their sellers again. So that you can see, like in this case, they will message the sellers a congratulations letter, just to have good faith that if that agent ever doesn't hang around. Another one for you guys that are recruiting, the thank you colleague letter to the co-op agent. So that's another good one. So,
I'm doing well. How are you?
awesome. What else?
Thanks.
guys?
Same.
What else? Any other questions or comments around transaction coordination? I will make sure that we get a final copy of this. Just so you guys know too, inside of your guys' course on Teachable, we are also making it really, really easy now that we've planned out the masterminds for the next few weeks, that you guys will see that when you're inside of Teachable here and you go to your onboarding, your new VA, we actually made an entire section at the bottom. So if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll actually see a section down here where we've put in all of the different master classes. So that way, if you're just looking for an easy way to check each week's master class, best way is to jump into your course here. And that's another great way to find it. And then if for some reason you can't find it in there, we also will stream them live to the Facebook group. You open the Facebook group, and then on the left side, you go to videos over here or somewhere. Oh, sorry, up here. You go to media, files, videos. You'll be able to see all of the different videos that we shoot and stream directly into here. So awesome. Anybody else as we wrap up here? I know it's been a while. I didn't even jump on video. So hello to everybody. But any questions, anything as we wrap up here? And I think Lisa, I think you're on here. Lisa, I do have that document that you emailed me about this morning. I realized I never hit send in the draft mode, so I'll get you that doc that you requested. Yeah, no problem.
It was two, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So, awesome. So anything else you guys want to cover?
I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Well, if no one has anything else, just let me know. Just as a reminder, tomorrow is Tuesday. That is going to be our last Q&A call for the week. We took a survey and a lot of people said that they don't or wouldn't even show up to the rest of the calls. So just message me if you guys need. I'm still available during those times during the day if we do need to jump on a Zoom. So just let me know. But we will plan on having a Q&A call tomorrow. Just as a reminder, I'll put out a video. I've been getting a lot of questions on should our VAs work on Thanksgiving or not? Guys, it's your international independent contractor. You can make that decision with your VA, whatever you guys feel is best. I kind of always tell people a lot of times, for me personally, even if my VA was working on Thanksgiving, I'm probably not going to be a very effective boss that day. And then when people ask me, Justin, should I pay my VA for that day? Is it a paid vacation? Guys, they're independent contractors. So the technical answer is no, you don't pay them for time not worked. However, I try and build culture. And for me, you know, $3 an hour, $5 an hour times 8 hours, it is well worth for me to just pay it anyways, even though I'm not obligated to. And nor do I make a stance that we have paid holidays or anything like that. Like that's not something we make with an international contractor, but I will pay all of my VAs for 2 days off this week. I believe we're doing Wednesday or we're doing Thursday, Friday or something like that. So, but at the end of the day, you guys get to make that decision and set, you know, whatever type of culture you guys want to have. So definitely up to you on that. So anybody else, any other questions, anything I can help with? Well, awesome, guys. Well, if you guys need help with anything at all, you know where to find me. Shoot us a message. More than happy to help. And we will just go from there. I appreciate all of you guys jumping on. I'm going to end the Zoom room so that Matt can get you guys an edited copy of the recording right away. Awesome. Yeah, I saw Brittany. Brittany, I'm just seeing your message that we have an email template goes out 3 times, starting 3 days after they go under contract. Love that. The more times, the better. There is a class at KW, and it is called Customer Experience. You guys can probably find it on YouTube. It is an absolutely fantastic class. I'm not even at KW anymore, and I still would swear by this class. It's called Customer Experience. It's basically, it talks about how to improve the customer experience, especially when you have admin. And I can also try and give you guys a link if I find anything, any online links for that. Really, really good class. Brittany, if you can correct me if I'm wrong with the name of that. I think you've been there maybe long enough to know the name of the class. But I definitely know that that's a really, really good class. So awesome. Anybody else have anything else? Are we good to go? All right, Matt, we are good to go, man. I'm going to log off. I'm going to kick everybody off here, and I'm going to post that recording for you guys. Good to see all of your beautiful faces. And I say that with only being able to see Donna. So everybody else either has a logo or blank screen. So good to see you guys, and we will chat you guys next week.
Great class. Thanks, Justin.